Good evening, everybody, and welcome to 88.7 FM, The Edge. This is the Brendan O'Brien Show, and I'm your host, Brendan O'Brien. Just past 7:32, and big show today. Big show, different than what we've done in a little while. We haven't had some guests in it. I'm very happy to welcome Allie. Hey, and Becca.
Hello there.
From our women's volleyball team, and they did something amazing this past weekend. They are the SUNYAC champions, winning the championship this past weekend, moving on to the NCAAs, and as a special treat that Owen, our sound engineer, is queuing up right now, I'm going to take you back to just this past weekend and play a little bit of the audio of that game-winning point, and then we'll go jump back in live in studio.
And we have Newport's match and championship point coming up. This is championship point. Alex Bishop, the senior, huge serve for her. She touched serve, ace! Hawks win! For the win! Hawks win! What a serve by, it's a SUNYAC Alex Bishop. It's a SUNYAC championship goes to Newport's Hawks. I don't believe it. It's a SUNYAC championship.
That was awesome. I think my favorite part is the my oh my. Yeah. I don't believe it. Allie, let me start with you. What was your thought process during that lead up to that championship point? What were you feeling after it was finally in?
Well, I knew we could do it. Like, I knew we had the capability of winning. But we had to, after last year, we didn't show up, honestly. And so this year, we definitely made sure that we prepped for that, and we definitely did show up. And I'm really happy, and I'm really happy with how it ended out.
How about you, Becca?
It was awesome, and it was everything we've worked for. So, the season, we reached the goal that we've been striving for.
You beat Fredonia 3-0. You go 9-0 in the whole conference. Talk to me. Was that something that when you were thinking about this upcoming season back in August or even earlier than that, quite honestly, because you probably started training way before everybody came back to campus, was that one of your goals you had for this season?
Yeah, our motto was 11 raises a banner, because we went 9-0 in conference last year, and like I said, we didn't seal the deal. So we went with 11 raises a banner this year because we needed all 11 to actually get the title. So,
what were your thoughts on the start of the season, if you could have imagined that you were going to go 9-0?
Honestly, it was like one game at a time, and like Allie said, we started out thinking like 9-0 like we did last season, but that kind of screwed us over in the end, and we realized we needed all 11 wins to actually accomplish something, so that ended up being our goal in the beginning. Yeah.
Cool. And I know a little bit of breaking news before you even you found out before that Becky, you were named the 2014 SUNYAC Player of the Year. Yeah. You were a SUNYAC MVP. Great stat line across the two matches during the weekends: 5.67 kills per set, 4.67 digs per set while hitting .329. And just an amazing accomplishment, along with your coach, Matt Guffrey, being named Coach of the Year for SUNYAC. Were you expecting that? Did it come as a surprise, or what were you thinking when you found out today?
Honestly, I was very surprised. I thought, like, all of our team probably could have gotten that award. I wouldn't be anything without everyone else on my team playing just as well, if not better than me. And it's honestly an honor, and I'm really thankful. I found out recently, too, and I was like, wow, I can't believe it. But my mom's so happy, you know how that goes.
That's what moms do.
Right.
This is what they live for.
Exactly.
So this is you're making your fifth NCAA tournament appearance. It's the third straight for the team. What are your expectations going into the tournament, and what are you doing to prepare?
Well, we're in a different region, actually, this year. We got sent to Virginia instead of, we've been to Clarkson the last 2 years. But we have the capability of winning. I really believe we can win if we come out and play like I know we can. So we just got to go in with the mentality that we can do it and that we got nothing else to lose.
What do you think?
This past week it's kind of strange because we're leaving tomorrow for Virginia. So when it comes to like preparation and practices, we had like kind of an easy practice yesterday because we were pretty tired from the weekend, and today was just really, really hard, but in a good way because it's prepping us for what we're going to face this weekend. So,
and who you're facing this weekend is, let me see, it is Haverford College.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about them as a team. Have you been doing any scouting on them, looking at tape? Is that something that you're able to have access to?
Yeah, I'm kind of a psycho, so I'll stalk their schedule. But I was looking, and they have a lot of similar wins as losses that we do, and it's definitely going to be a good game.
That's awesome. What are your thoughts?
I haven't looked as much as Allie has, but our coach does have footage of the team, so we've been prepping a little bit, just like scouting and figuring out different ways to move and jive, just to, help us win, Okay.
And throughout the season, because I think, being a student athlete is not something that everybody gets to do. So talk a little bit, Allie, about what is the day like for you when you're in season? Because most people, and I work here at the college in student activities, and I'll have students that are like, oh my God, I can't make it 10 a.m. No, I don't want to do 10. But to a student athlete, that would be heaven at 10 a.m. if you had something that that coach related. So talk a little bit about what's that day-to-day like for you?
I mean, I don't know. It's typical for us because we do it all the time.
Right.
But we'll go to class, and then we'll usually have like a lift, and then sometimes we'll have individual practices. So depending on our position, and then we'll have actual practice. It gets tiring, but I love it, so it's worth it.
Yeah. It's been our lives.
Yeah.
Yours for 4 years, mine for 3 years now. We have individual meetings, we have leader meetings, random meetings to discuss food, like she said, workouts, individual practices, and it takes up a lot of time, but we obviously love the sport, and it's all worth it considering what we've accomplished this year.
And Allie, going back, this you've been doing this for 4 years. So as a senior, and this is coming up on your last NCAA tournament, what are your thoughts going into that?
Well, it's a little sad, but I don't know. It's just it's our last shot. So me and the other two seniors we're working our butts off. So I'm excited and I'm sad, but it's been a good journey. So.
And what's it like working with Coach Guthrie, who also, again, won Coach of the Year for SUNYAC, and he has won more contests than any other coach in any other sport in the history of New Paltz. What's that like working with a coach of that caliber?
It's great. He's always been there for me. I've never really realized that he's been the most winningest coach, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I think all around he's just a great coach and person in general. Like I said earlier, we have individual meetings. So if we have problems going on with school, personal life, social life, whatever, he's always there to help us. And then in practice, he's still there to help us, but he's so much more intense and absolutely loves what he does. So he's very passionate about it. And he'll make sure that we know when we do something wrong, but he'll also congratulate us if we do something right.
And what's been like that for you?
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's not only is he a great knowledgeable coach, but he's just a great, mentor. He's always there. He's always willing to drop everything, and if we want to come in and talk or anything like that. So it's great working with him.
And a guy that calls in regularly on this show, and my best friend since college, Franco, was a swimmer, and he always had these weird, quirky things he would have to do before he went swimming. Do you have any rituals that you go through before you start your contest?
I don't personally, but I know that as a team we always play a weird game. So last week before SUNYAC we played Jedi Mind Trick. So you stand in a circle, and if you make eye contact with somebody, you have to switch with them, and there's a person in the middle, and that person tries to take a spot.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it's really weird, but that's what we do.
Yeah.
How about you?
Just like she said, typically the two of us are braiding hair most of the time too.
Yes, true.
Make sure everyone looks good first. Then we'll play the game, and we look like a bunch of chickens with their heads cut off most of the time. But it's a lot of fun, and it gets you really amped for the game. But it's pretty usual.
Mm-hmm.
And since what are your plans after college, graduating this year, right?
Yep.
What are your plans for the future? Or, to be honest, if you haven't thought of it, you can tell me that too.
Well, I'm definitely thinking about it, but definitely don't know exactly what I'm doing. But I have to go to grad school, so hopefully that works out. And that's about as far as I've gotten. But
So we'll wrap up in just a second, but give me one key to this game that you have been focusing on and that you feel you've got to do to win.
I mean, I think a lot of it is just staying true to how we play and putting in the hard work that we've always been doing and just keep up with, the play that we've been doing the whole season.
Yeah, I think it's staying confident in just making sure that we do what we know we can do, and we don't play down and we don't try to play up or anything like that. We just play our game, and that's it.
Well, the game is this Friday. It's at the Christopher Newport Regional it's the Christopher Newport Regional at Christopher Newport University. That's confusing. Freeman Center, Newport News, Virginia. If you're interested in watching the game or finding out how you can get tickets, you can go to nphawks.com. Thank you so much to Becca and Allie for coming in today.
Thank you.
If you win, you're more than welcome to come back. Bring everybody. We can get more microphones. So thank you so much for coming in today, and good luck on the upcoming game. Congratulations for all your accomplishments during the regular season, too. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, a little fantasy football, a little Mark Sanchez eating cheesesteaks after his game last night. You're listening to 88.7 FM, The Edge. Welcome back to 88.7 FM, The Edge. Thank you again to Becca and Allie of the women's volleyball SUNYAC champions heading down to Virginia for the NCAA tournament. Good luck to them, and hopefully they'll be able to come back once they win. I want to take a quick break from discussion on fantasy football before we get into it, because Mark Sanchez, embattled Jets quarterback. Mark Sanchez, backup for the Eagles, was, due to Nick Foles' injury, thrust into the spotlight, and on Monday he debuted as the backup, and it was his first game in a long time, since back in December 2012, and when he was done, he went to two of the most famous Philadelphia cheesesteak places in town to celebrate his win. So here's a little bit of an audio that someone took of him eating some cheese fries.
Mark Sanchez, dude, he was cheesesteak sports. No, Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, Mark Sanchez eating cheese French fries. If you couldn't hear the audio, it's Philadelphia's finest Philadelphia Eagles fans telling Mark Sanchez that, yes, the fork he is about to use is clean, which, according to the video, you can't tell. I'm willing to bet it wasn't clean. And he just goes ahead and chomps down on some cheese fries. And he ordered 2 Philadelphia cheesesteaks, one from Pat's, one from Geno's, just to bookend the experience. So Eagles won in a rout of the Panthers. Ron Rivera, coach of the Panthers, saying that there's nothing wrong with Cam Newton. Well, something's not right with Cam Newton either. Not quite sure what exactly is happening, but he may very well be injured. But in the last 4 years, he is the most hit quarterback in the NFL and got hit 9 times last night, going 25 for 40, 2 touchdowns in what was essentially garbage time and 3 interceptions. Doesn't have a lot of talent around him to make it work. Steve Smith, who has been having a renaissance, if you will, in his career with the Baltimore Ravens, is no longer on that team. And perhaps it's part of the system that he's in, that they're not utilizing his talents and his athleticism. But something's not right, and I don't necessarily think it's Cam's fault 100%. But if the right system comes along, maybe he can turn it around. But it looks, again, like another lost season for Cam Newton and the Panthers. I believe I've got in the queue that one Mr. Fantasy Franco Pacheco is here. And, ooh, there we go. That was a little loud, but you know what? Sometimes you got to be loud. Sometimes you just got to say, hey, world, it's time for some fantasy with Franco Pacheco. How are you, Franco?
I'm doing well, Brendan. You know what's funny? When you guys do the music and you start talking, it sounds like a lot of really odd whispering. I can't quite make it out. So I have no idea what you're saying. You'd be saying that I'm a terrible person or a bad analyst, and I just would not know.
Well, I was saying neither one of those things. I'm trying to be set the tone to go along with that music, but maybe I'll be a little louder and not whispery.
No, you're fine. You sound sexy. It's hard for me to hear.
And well, first, before we get into everything, happy Veterans Day, Franco. Franco is a veteran of our United States Army, and happy Veterans Day to you, sir, and thank you for your service.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate a lot of people in our community have said it to me as well, and it feels good to be appreciated. I feel like our veterans, I don't mean necessarily, but they're kind of an underserved group in the United States, and I feel like our young men and women that come back from deployment definitely need to be appreciated and thanked on a regular basis. So it's good to see it happen.
Let's go right into a little bit of a non-fantasy football related message. I know that there is a fundraiser going on called the Hour of Power, and it is for cancer research. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. It's called the Ted Mullen Fund. You can look it up online at tedmullenfund.org. I realize advertising's not always our thing, but we're going to go with it because it's for a good cause. It is for sarcoma research, and we actually just completed the Hour of Power today. I work for Colby College, swimming and diving, and so our swim team put on an hour-long set of full sprinting, which I did as well. I'm not able to walk, but I always like to come on air and say, great job to the team. It's very moving. I mean, I'm also had a run-in with cancer myself, so you can imagine how moving it is for me. So it's just a really great day, and it's a lot's done for sarcoma research, and it's just a special moment. We have special athletes that really dedicated themselves to it. So I just want to call on air and use my little bit of celebrity clout to say, great job.
Give us that website one more time, Franco.
Absolutely. It's tedmullenfund.org. And I definitely encourage you to donate. Sarcoma is one of the only cancers that attacks youth under 25, and it is currently fatal. So we need to get on it. We need to find a cure.
Thank you, Franco, for bringing that to our attention. And now let's turn to fantasy football. Who were our top performers of this week?
We're going to start with Peyton Manning for the Denver Broncos, of course. 5 touchdowns, 340 yards, around 40 points.
And what about a running back that may have been a top performer?
It's funny. We actually should tell our audience this. We're going old school today. We're going no. You're just trying to guide me and steer me towards the topics, which is going to be difficult. So
I remember how to do this, but I have grown accustomed to the notes, and I think I'm now, it's become my crutch, so to speak. So this is fun, though. This is old school, so we'll do our best. So running backs, what were they?
Marshawn Lynch, 4 touchdowns, 140 yards. And just to save you the awkward transition, we're going to go with another quarterback next.
Nice.
So go ahead and transition.
And what other quarterbacks were there, Franco?
We're going to go with Aaron Rodgers, 6 touchdowns, 315 yards, 50-ish points. And as Todd Haley does not listen to the show, but Peyton Manning does, hopefully Mike McCarthy listens to the show. Because Aaron Rodgers had 6 touchdowns, 1 off the record, and he got pulled. So hopefully next time Aaron Rodgers is close, Mr. McCarthy, we know you're an avid listener. So please leave him in to break the record. We love to see history here on The Edge.
What about a letdown? I had a personal letdown, which was Devontae Adams of the Green Bay Packers. Speaking of them, I don't know if that was on your list, but that would be one for me. What other letdowns did you see this week?
Yeah, Devontae Adams was a weird letdown. Aaron Rodgers threw it to guys that are not owned anywhere in fantasy. But I think Adams bounces back. But the biggest letdowns for me were 2 wide receivers, actually. So we can call this Letdowns Wide Receiver Edition. I just copyrighted that, by the way. Antonio Brown, 3.4 points. And he actually had a decent game with 74 yards, but he fumbled the ball twice. So that was rough.
And what was the other wide receiver?
Is going to be, I just beat you to the punch. Get on your game, O'Brien. Mohamed Sanu, 2 points, which is terrible. He had been so good for a while, and you'd think A.J. Green would pull coverage, but 2 points. I mean, I guess the entire Bengals offense looked like it went on a bender the night before and then tried to play on Thursday, and it didn't go well.
Yeah. Dandy Andy wasn't so dandy, and that was a terrible performance by Andy Dalton. Again, and this is not on the notes, but since we're already going off the cuff, it's just, again, we've talked about this. The Thursday night games have been, for the most part, terrible games. There hasn't been anyone that you could look at and say, this was a great game on a Thursday night. No one has said that. What do you think is going on? At some point, does the NFL look at what they've done and say, you know what, we made a mistake. We got to get rid of this Thursday night football thing?
Well, first off, that's never going to happen because it's advertising dollars on another night. I think, unfortunately, what it is that we put the bye after they play Thursday night. I think if they redo it, as Sean and Payton actually suggested in a very heated moment, which you probably got fined for because it's the NFL, he suggested they take the bye week first and then play after the bye week, giving them time to prepare. I think that's the key. I think a lot of teams don't have time to prepare. When you have good players that get banged up on Sunday, they can't come back in time for Thursday, leaving you with kind of a sub-quality product.
Now let's take a look at some waiver wire pickups that you may need to get as you make your championship run?
All right, we're going to go super deep for our listeners today. And because they probably listen to other fantasy shows, I guess we'd call that radio infidelity, but that's okay. So we're going to go somewhere that nobody else is going. We're going to give you deep sleepers that you can't get anywhere else but on the B.O.B. show.
Let's go.
Sound good?
I love the deep sleep.
All right, we're going to go with a quarterback and a tight end. Our quarterback is going to be Drew Stanton. As you saw, in a very tragic event, Carson Palmer went down with a torn ACL. I wasn't sold on Stanton at first because he looked bad last year, but Stanton came in and kind of lit up the offense pretty well. And I think it's the coach is definitely going to be Coach of the Year, first off. And I think his offense runs very well, and I think that's going to be a fantastic step in the direction for him. And I think he could be a good value pick. At tight end, we're going to have Austin Sferris-Jenkins. And I know tight end's a bit of a rough suggest on this show because we've been wrong a couple of times.
Jason Morrow.
Josh McCown has proven over and over again that he likes it with the tight end. Martellus Bennett had great value last year when Cutler was out, and it was McCown. So trust me this time, we're going to go with Austin Sferris-Jenkins.
Now let's get to a league update, which we had major earth-shattering news in our fantasy football league that you, sir, can hang your hat on. What was that?
You should call me the Kingslayer from now on. Because I took Travis's undefeated record, and then I stomped my boots out on it, and I took his crown.
You did, and because of that, and not because I had guests in, but because of that, he's not on the show today.
That's what he deserves. The worst part is, after I beat him, he sent me a text and was just like, well, if I had started Rome, I would have won. Bad sportsmanship, sir. Take the loss, walk away, you're still in first place, but just know we're coming for you.
We are, and I, while you are actually, sprinting toward him, I'm semi-crawling, and I'm going to stop and take rests along the way because I've just eked my way back into the playoffs. Where if things stand, I do face Travis as the 8 seed going up against the number 1 seed. I feel confident about my next couple of matchups with the team I've assembled that finally seems to be paying off. So I have a strong feeling I'll be hopefully in the playoffs.
I think you will be. I think you should give him more credit. You've taken the 8 slot over. You almost beat him last week. I think you're here to stay. I mean, I hope you lose because I don't want to lose our bet for the radio drop and also the haircut. But I have to imagine that you're going to make a strong push, and I will win, and Travis will fall horribly because that's what happens when you have hubris and you're over egotistical. You crash and burn.
Well, I will, in all fairness, I'll have Travis on next week. He can offer rebuttal. We can see where the landscape goes, and then we'll talk more about fantasy football.
That sounds like a plan. I'm all in on that one.
Thank you so much, Franco, and happy Veterans Day again, and we will talk to you next week.
Thank you so much. Again, check out tedmullenfund.org, and thank you to all the veterans out there. And goodbye, Brendan, and you're welcome, America.
Bye, Franco. Oh, man. A few sports news-related items to get to before we leave you today. The Giants lost to the Seahawks. However, if you go to CBSSports.com or just Google Marshawn Lynch and Steven Hasuka, the kicker for the Seahawks, somebody captured video of Marshawn Lynch dancing in his on the bench next to Steven, the kicker. And then when Steven's not joining in, he grabs him by the collar and starts forcing him to sway back and forth. Meanwhile, Marshawn Lynch is a giant beast of a man, probably over 250 of just pure muscle, whereas Steven is like me, 6'2", 170. He's not, and he's a kicker, so it's not like he's got the full pads on either. It's very funny, so you should check that out. The combined score of the 3 primetime games this past week was 124-38, with all but one of those touchdowns from the losing teams coming after the game was decided. So not a great night of football on Thursday night, combined, or Monday night, or Sunday night, and all those primetime games. No one's really made any major moves, in my opinion, as far as the most dominant team in the NFL. It is a wide open race. Looking at some articles before coming on air, there are technically 22 teams that are still in line for a possible shot into the playoffs. So a lot left to play for, a lot left to see. And it's kind of exciting. There are not strong teams where you can just go, all right, for sure they're dominant. They're going to make it to the Super Bowl. Not so much. There's maybe 3 teams. You've got the Colts, you've got the Patriots, and then beyond that, I'll throw in Arizona on that. But you really only 3 teams that I would feel somewhat confident in getting to the playoffs for sure. So wide open race, a lot of exciting things going on. And if you were wondering, the football team in Washington, Jay Gruden is their head coach. He said, quote, when you go back and look at what's going on, being 3-6, you look at the 6 losses and there's a play here, a play there where we're just so close to being 7-2 instead of 3-6. You are what your record is. So apologies to Coach Gruden, but you are a 3-6 team, not 7-2. Want to thank, again, Becca and Allie of the New Paltz women's volleyball team, the SUNYAC championships. Good luck to them on their road through the NCAAs this Friday. Thank you to Franco for calling in this evening. Thank you again to Owen, who played multiple CDs today, really taxing him and his abilities this evening. Stay tuned for Jam with Pam. You've been listening to 88.7 FM, The Edge.